Wood as a Biofuel, presented by Layla Anderson. So to begin, a little bit of an introduction and background. Wood is the oldest biofuel, and today is the largest use of energy from a solid fuel biomass. The heat from the fire produced by the wood is the source of energy, and major marketed forms of this wood include logwood, firewood, wood chips, wood briquettes, and wood pellets, and many other forms. So how is wood grown? So it comes from a tree, pretty obviously, but there are two different types of wood that are harvested to be used for biofuels. And those types of wood are direct wood and indirect wood. Direct wood is extracted from forests, wooded lands, or other areas that trees grow. And indirect wood would come from wood processing places, recovered wood fuels, or derived from socioeconomic activities outside of the forest sources where the direct wood fuels come from. The production of wood, they are grown on either a farm or harvested naturally. So going back to the indirect thing. And they grow through photosynthesis by using sunlight and water to become large and strong. And once they're at their maximum potential for harvesting, they're chopped down and cut into smaller, more manageable pieces for transporting and processing matters. And from there, the wood can be turned into pellets or other forms depending on what they're going to be used for. But one important thing to remember is no over-harvesting, which is kind of a struggle right now. That's something that we're dealing with to keep a steady carbon monoxide and oxygen exchange. So, development status. With wood being the oldest biofuel, it has been used for thousands of years to produce that energy. However, the popularity of wood as a biofuel did have a decrease when harvesting wood for building purposes increased. So they used it more for building as opposed to the biofuel aspect, and switched to other forms of biofuel whenever they were becoming more popular. So, but right now wood is back on the rising as a biofuel because it is renewable, unlike fossil fuels and other types of biofuel. Wood is not the only renewable biofuel, but it is one of the most readily available ones. So the economic impact of wood as a biofuel, there's many economic impacts that are significant, and this includes increased prices for other wood products and increased income for landowners and greater likelihood of forests remaining forests, so staying in action. The increasing harvest for bioenergy has impacted the traditional wood using industries, timber prices, and land use, each having impacts on carbon storage and emissions and reductions in cropland areas and food production. So it has a heavy impact. So our problem and solution. The increasing combustion of woody biomass is creating greenhouse gases. And my plan to combat this is to encourage the use of sawmill residue. Increasing the sawmill residue will have long-term impacts on the timber and sawmill industry. And I'll talk more about that on this slide. So my plan of action, step 1, addressing the problem, greenhouse gas emissions and harvesting wood responsibly. The solution to the greenhouse gas would be to use wood shavings from the sawmill, which would otherwise be burned without purpose, so not being used as a biofuel. So then step 3 with that would be recycling the wood shavings, which would decrease the emissions by half. Step 4, going back to the responsibility portion of harvesting those trees would be to keep the CO2 oxygen balance. So step 5 is to aid that, plant a tree for every tree that is harvested. And then step 6 of this entire process would be to advertise to industries using wood as biofuel to encourage them to harvest responsibly and use sawmill residue whenever possible. And then those are my sources.